Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the cabin out here at St. Bernard Acres. How y'all are? This is Friday, July 4th. Happy birthday America. And happy birthday Alex. This is my son's birthday. So we're going to have fun with him. Not a whole lot going on this weekend as far as a lot of work or anything because it's a holiday weekend and I just don't feel like it. It's finally dry. There's no rain. There has been no rain for a couple of days, and it's not supposed to rain until next week. So I do plan on getting everything mowed out here and start backfilling in the tank. And I'm going to try to get all the material brought up, the siding I want for inside the cabin. Nick and Alex will come out tomorrow. It's not going to be raining. So we should be able to get things together where I can start working more on the inside of the house that we're doing. But that's about it. I mean, nothing spectacular. I did want to put up a video. I got a couple of things I wanted to talk about. And I try to do these chats in the taxi cab when I'm driving. It's very difficult. I need one of those wireless lav mics that are a good one. I got a real cheap one and it doesn't do any good. The sound is horrible because these are older cars and freeway noise, and you know, if I had a good Rode microphone or something, it would probably be a whole lot better. So what I decided to do this time that's a little bit different is I'm just going to voice over a video I shot yesterday. Now, Tuesday, it rained pretty much the entire day of driving. Not much point in taking video then. Yesterday, or Wednesday was good, but again, I was local. I didn't take any long runs, so it's more difficult for the opportunity to shoot video to arise. Yesterday, on the other hand, I picked up somebody about 11:30 in Martins Ferry, Ohio, and drove them to Morgantown, West Virginia to their doctor. That was about an hour and a half's ride. And what I did, I had the camera set up in the window, and when I picked them up in Martins Ferry, I hit the record button and I just let it run. There's no audio in the video, but it's my whole trip down to Morgantown. And it's a cool trip. It's a very nice trip, nice scenery. You go through, Martins Ferry, you take 70 east to Washington, PA, take 79 south through southwestern Pennsylvania, then you cross back over into West Virginia again, and it's just a few miles into West Virginia is Morgantown. But it's about an hour and a half's ride, and it's pretty cool. So I just let the camera run. At the end of the video, when I get down to the hospital down there, you can see West Virginia University's, the Mountaineers. You can see the basketball arena. You can see the football stadium. All that is, in proximity of the hospital because it's all West Virginia University in that area. Big giant cluster. So it's a fun video to do, and I figured I would run it. I edit it at 1.5 speed, so it's only about an hour long, the trip. I'm probably going to talk for 20 minutes, you know me, once I get started as far as the voiceover goes. Then for the rest of the video, I'll just have some music going, and you can enjoy the ride down to Morgantown if you like. Enjoy the scenery. It's very pretty. Hills and all the woods and everything. So that's today's video. There are a couple of subjects I would like to talk about, though, while this is going. Now, I'm off to the side here in this because I'm going to try to have some of the video going while I'm talking. So you don't have to just look at me while I'm talking. That is less of a talking head video, if you know what I mean, because the scenery is a whole lot prettier than my head. But there are a couple things I wanted to discuss, and had I had the opportunity to do in the cab, I certainly would have. One of the subjects I wanted to talk about today, I have a friend. Yep, I got a friend. Don't Don't think I don't. No. I have a subscriber who is also a friend on Facebook, and he's a prepper, and he belongs to a prepper group, which is great. You know, let me tell you, there are lots and lots and lots of prepper groups in this country that don't have YouTube channels, right? They're real groups of people, right? They're not a group so one person can have a YouTube channel and make money off of the group, right? There are many of those out there on YouTube that to me are like fake groups as far as that goes. Now, my philosophy on groups, there are a lot of good advantages to a group setting. There are a lot of disadvantages as well. I'm very fortunate I don't have to join a group because I have St. Bernard Acres. I don't have to worry about a bug out location if it's necessary because, again, I have St. Bernard Acres. Soon I'll be living here and there'll be no bugging out then, right? Now, my prepping philosophy is I prep for, if there's an EMP, the economy collapses, society collapses or whatever, you're looking at, a couple of years max before whatever the new normal is going to be starts taking shape, right? I am not one of these preppers who prep for the end of the world as we know it, and I have to be a survivalist for 10 years, that my little clan here is the last humans on Earth. Those people, I'm telling you, have too vivid an imagination. They have read too many books and watched too many movies and TV shows. I just don't see that kind of thing happening. And were something happen that would require that kind of, survival, I'm not sure I'd want to survive it anyway. I would like to be spared the horrors of survival. So we're just prepping to get us through a year and a half, Now, I have a group, be it an informal group, an unestablished group, if you will, of my neighbors out here. We all have property. We all have homesteads. We're all trying to achieve the same thing, and we're all like-minded people, and were an SHTF scenario to happen, we're not going to depend on each other, but we're all going to help each other. You know what I mean? There's no joining a group or paying dues or having to do anything. We just continue on with our lives, but we keep in mind, once every couple of weeks, once a month, we go to Donnie's house or Mike's house, we'll cook out. Not every one of us, but at some point, all of us get together. And we just, like ad hoc meetings, we discuss things. So that's my idea of prepping. It's very relaxed. We're all ready for, I could live out here for a year and never have to worry about it. Just like them. We're not in it for the long-term survival type situation. It's just, to me, that's unrealistic. But my friend brought up a couple of good points about maybe reasons why you would quit a group and join another group. I think, back in Cincinnati when I had the Boy Scout troop, right? We moved to Wheeling. There was a scout troop here. I mean, there's other scout troops. There was one that we thought, okay, we might join. Let's go check them out. We went to one of their meetings. They had scheduled a camp out for the following weekend. We were going to go on the camp out with them just to see how the troop was, see if we wanted to join the troop. And Thursday before the camp out, the scoutmaster called me and said they were canceling it because it might rain. And we're like, really? In our troop, we had a camp out every month. We had a 3-day camp out, regardless of the weather. Right? We had a planning committee, and we planned out 6 months at a time of campouts. We never canceled a campout. Weather, had nothing. We just never canceled them. We camped in the rain. We camped in the snow, in the freezing rain, in the heat. We camped. That's what it was all about. So when this guy called and said they were canceling it because it might rain, we're like, okay, we don't want to join that troop. And I imagine you could do group scenarios the same way. You want to experience them before you have to pony up some kind of money or make some kind of a commitment. Join an activity with the group and see what these people are about. Then you can decide whether or not you want to join that group. I also wouldn't want to join a group where the leader of the group, if you will, or whatever, has to recruit people. I don't have to recruit anybody. My family and my friends are my group. There's no recruiting people. And, obviously out here, my family is obviously welcome. They will be here. My friends, I have a couple of really good friends that are welcome out here. I'm not going to say how many, but there are some. And their family's welcome here. Anytime. If an SHTF event occurs and they can get here, they are welcome here. They don't have to have a stash out here. They don't have to have anything out here. They don't have to pay any money. Just if you can get here with your family, thank goodness, we're all going to work together. Just like with all the neighbors around. We're not going to depend on each other, but I'm there to help any of them that need it and vice versa. So that's the kind of prepper group that I'm comfortable with. And he mentioned the same thing. One of his deals is you have the guy who has the property, right? And the group makes all these plans and spends all this money on stuff, but then the dude doesn't follow through on anything. The only work that gets done, and I've seen several of these groups on YouTube like that, the only work that gets done is the couple of days when people are there from the group. Other than that, nothing gets done, right? I'm not going to pay money to have nothing get done for 3 weeks out of the month, right? So I agree with him on that. These people have no idea how to store food. You've invested a bunch of money in food that will last 25 to 30 years, but you don't know how to properly store it, or you can't. So your shelf life is only going to be 2 to 3 years, right? You're planning on a 10-year survival scenario where you're going to be the only human beings left on Earth, but your food is only going to last you a couple, 3 years. I don't care if you have, $50,000 worth of freeze-dried food. When you have to store it in the elements and let it burn up and let it freeze and let it burn up, it's going to go bad, right? So there's his point number 2. You have to have enough confidence in the guy who's heading this up and taking care of everything that he knows what he's doing. If you don't have confidence in that guy, then don't join that group, right? And number 3 that he brought up, what about any kind of training? What about practicing? All your skills, you need to practice. Just like with the, things that you're not allowed to mention on YouTube anymore. You got to practice with them. Your survival, you have to practice survival technique. Now, you as a leader are expecting people from hundreds of miles away in some cases to make it to your location to help you out because you don't want to be a lone wolf. There's safety in numbers, and I agree with that. The fact you have to recruit people to be part of your family, that's another side of the story. There's several of them like that. But I would like to, my idea, if I had a group that I was responsible for and that I put together, then at least twice a year, once in the summer, once in the winter, I would like for everybody to show up and we live off of our preps for a week. Take a week's vacation from your job or whatever, and you come out here for 7 days. And for 7 days, we're going to live with no power, nothing. Only what we've prepped. We're going to practice foraging for food. We're going to practice harvesting wild animals. We're going to hunt. We're going to set traps, right? We're going to have to build fires. We're going to have to keep warm in the wintertime. You need those kind of activities to keep the group fresh. I like the idea of the group thing because, you can work on your skills with other people. But I think when you have a group that's only there for YouTube purposes, for somebody to make money off of and get views, and to invest all of this time and money into their property, I don't care what kind of handshake deals you got, I don't care what kind of committee you got, you cannot vet people that you don't know. They're going to bring people with them. It doesn't matter what you say. They're going to bring their family members with them. And if you have not met all of the families, and you've got 20 different people who are bringing 20 different families, those 20 might get along fine in the short term. But now you have all of this other element showing up, right? I don't think there's anything good that can come out of that. That's my opinion. You want a group, it's your family. That's what you got to concentrate on, right? And lifelong friends that you have, right? People you don't have to vet. People you don't have to interview to see if they would be a good fit in your group. I had to hire people and fire people. I don't like doing that, right? It would be like the same thing. I don't want people who think because they have paid me all this money that I owe them something, right? I don't have to come to you and work because I have paid you thousands of dollars to take care of me for when SHTF happens. And I think he sees that's how things can come out. So you want to find a closer group for one, a tighter knit group that aren't paying money or taking money, that aren't saying, okay, you guys are all responsible for this, this is the way this is going to work, I'm not doing anything, So what he said, I agree with. That's the dangers of joining a group that you don't know the people. My group, I know everybody. I know my family. I know my really close friends. I know their families. My really close friends are also friends with each other. We do family events together. So there are no questions of anything. Could one of them wig out in a stressful situation? Yes. But it's unlikely, and it's definitely not where nobody's going to know what to do. Because we know what to do, We take care of our own. I think that's how you have to look at groups. And you audition the group. You don't go apply to a group because somebody's trying to recruit you and you have to pass their muster in order to be a part of their group. The way I look at it, if I needed to join a group, if I felt comfortable joining a group, and like I said, there are many benefits to it, but I would be auditioning the group. You know, it's not the other way around. You know, you have to fit me. That's the way it would have to work. Exactly the same as it was with that Boy Scout troop. Right? We auditioned that troop. Decided that's not how we liked our campouts to be in the Boy Scout troop. So we didn't join that troop. Same scenario. You know. Be weary of who you join. Right? And before you invest a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of money into that group, really learn that group. You know? They should be more than happy to invite you out for a weekend so that they can look at you and check you out while you're checking them out, and everybody's friendly, you know, and you can then decide whether or not you want to join that group. You don't send them a check. You don't fill out an application, you know. You join them in one of their outings, and then you decide whether you would be a fit for that group or not, and whether that group would be a fit for you. So that was an excellent point my friend brought up, and I'm glad he brought that up. You know, those are the things you have to check out before you join a group. And Joe is not open. St. Bernard Acres is not open for groups. I don't need anybody. I have enough as it is. So, unless you've been my friend for 20 years, you know, I'm not sure how well we would get along in this adventure. All right, that's all I got to say about that. If you got any comments, leave them, of course. All right, the next thing I want to talk about. The big, beautiful bill. I'm not going to delve too deep into it. It's 900 pages. Right? $3.3 trillion that are going to be added to the deficit over the next 10 years is the estimate. Right? The debt ceiling has now been increased to $5 trillion he's allowed to spend. And there won't be fights about shutting down the government if they can't agree on a budget. So they're saying by 2026 our deficit will reach 37 trillion. So there's nothing there in this bill that's going to lower the deficit. Those days are gone. There are a few things in this bill that I like a lot, and there are some things that I don't like a lot. I'll give you my thoughts on a few of them. You can give me your thoughts on them if you wish. I have notes. I have to refer to my notes on this one. So you will see me looking down at my notes as I'm doing this. Number one, the tax credits that Donald Trump put into effect in 2017 that were overturned by the Biden administration are now back, and they're permanent. So that does help us out a little bit, but it helps out the rich a lot. A lot. So just think about that. Middle class, we get a little bit of a break, but nothing like the uber rich are going to get. Your state and local taxes, you can now, instead of deducting up to $10,000, you can now deduct up to $40,000 off your federal taxes. Does that help me? No, because I don't pay much in taxes anyway. Who does it help? The rich people that live in New York, California, New Jersey, that pay outrageous property taxes can now write them off. Don't know how exactly I feel about that. I don't think it's fair that it doesn't help me a bit. People like us, it's not going to help. It doesn't have an effect on us. Once again, that helps the rich. You know, if they can afford to pay that much money a year, then they don't need a tax break for paying that much money a year, in my opinion. No tax on tips or overtime. Perfect. Could not agree more with anything. That is going to put more money in the pockets of us, the middle class and the low class. Right? That is really going to help us a lot. Right? That's a good thing. But that expires in 2028. So what good is it going to do this for 2 years while Trump's in office? When he leaves office, they're going to expire. So why bother? You're going to get us used to spending this extra money. That's what you did during COVID. You gave us all that money, and we went and spent all that money. We got used to that, and now we're so far in debt that we can't think straight because we got used to that kind of money. Poor folks like us, we don't know how to handle money like that. You know? But you're going to give us an extra few $1,000s a year for 2 years, and it's going to be gone. What's going to happen then? That's what I want to see. I want to know what you plan on doing after that expires in 2 years. Enough of that one. I had other things I wanted to say in my notes, but I'm not going to. The biggest one of them all, I think, is the Medicaid work requirements. It's not cutting Medicaid. That's what the left wants you to believe. That's why they want you to hate this so much. And they want you to hate Donald Trump because he's eliminating Medicaid. What it is requiring work from able-bodied single adults who get Medicaid. If you're a disabled adult, there are no changes. If you have children under the age of 14, there are no changes. If you're 65 years old or older, there are no changes. Right? If you are 18 to 30 years old and you just don't feel like working, there's going to be changes. You will lose that Medicaid. And I agree with that. Now, let me explain why I agree with that. I get Medicare, and everybody wants to tell me, oh, you're getting it free. You're getting free Medicare. No, I'm not. It doesn't work that way. Oh, you get Social Security. You're living off your government, off Social Security. No, it does not work that way. I worked for 50 years, and I paid into that Social Security, and my employer paid into that Social Security, and I paid into Medicare. There's a difference between Medicare and Medicaid, right? Medicare, not only did I pay for it my whole working career, but they also take $176 a month out of my Social Security to pay for my Medicare. Plus, I have to buy extra insurance on top of that. So I'm not getting anything for free. If you're some 25-year-old dude that's just living at home playing on his Xbox, you're getting Medicaid for free that I'm paying for because I pay taxes on all my shit too. Right? So the way this whole thing was set up in the beginning was the welfare and the food stamps and, you know, the medical cards. It was to supplement your income. If you were working and you didn't make enough money, which especially in today's economy, you cannot earn a living. You can't live at minimum wage. You can't. I know that. I'm not against helping you if you're trying, right? But it's the Americans that are working 60 hours a week that are paying for your Medicaid, right? All they're asking you now is work 20 hours a week, work a part-time job, or go to school part-time to learn a trade. Then nothing will change. but at least have enough pride in yourself to work and try to elevate yourself, and eventually you'll get to where you don't need this, right? But why do you expect your neighbor to work 60 hours a week to pay so you don't have to work? How is that justified? Again, they're not cutting Medicaid out for everybody. You know, if you're not willing to work towards it, then you don't get it. Plain and simple. If you're disabled, if you got the kids, you know, if you're old, yes, you get it. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the physically able adults who don't want to work. Right? I will supplement your lifestyle if you are trying. I will not pay for your chosen lifestyle so you don't have to work. Grow up. Be a man. Be a woman. Have pride. Right? There are hundreds of thousands of part-time jobs all over this country that are unfulfilled because you get everything for free. Why would you work? You know, I see people where I worked. I used to hate it. But they count their hours. Because if they work an extra hour, that disqualifies them for stuff. So they won't even work. That's where we went wrong, folks. That's where we went wrong. Asking you to work 20 hours a week or asking you to go to school for 20 hours a week while learning a trade or whatever is not asking too much for us to pay all your bills for you. That's all I got to say. SNAP, the same thing. The food stamp thing, same thing. Right? I will help you buy food. I won't buy all of your food. I'm not doing that. If I could make my dogs go to work, they'd have to pay for their own food. You know? That's what's happening with the SNAP program. Same concept. Right? If you're disabled, you got kids, if you're old, that doesn't change. Only physically able adults that are single are being required to meet the new work requirements of 20 hours a week. That is all. End of story. Get a job. Been saying that my whole life. Get a job. Child tax credit increases. They do that every year anyway. Here's one they don't like. The liberals do not like this at all. And I do. $170 billion for border security. I got no problem with that one, folks. Go ahead on with it. Take the money you're saving by buying that 25-year-old all of his food and put that towards border security. Yeah, we need way more of that and get that wall built. Green energy credits removed. Absolutely correct. The government should not be paying rebates for Elon Musk. If you buy a Tesla, you get $7,500 tax credit. Bullcrap. I can't afford to buy a Tesla even with the $7,500. Why should the government pay $7,500 for someone to buy a Tesla? You know, if Elon Musk wants to sell a Tesla that bad, he can give the people a $7,500 rebate. Lower the cost of the Tesla. Don't use the government to be your number one salesman. You know, same with these giant solar companies. Oh, you know, we'll give you all these tax credits if you put in solar. You're making Chinese companies rich, right? And in my opinion, if you can afford $60,000 or $80,000 to turn your house into solar, then you don't need a tax credit to do that. Right? End all this tax credit bullshit. You're paying people to buy things that make other people rich. Right? That we got to stop. Now, I know a lot of my friends and a lot of my subscribers are into solar and all that. So am I, but I'm not expecting anybody to pay for my solar. So, stop all of them green energy credits. Yeah, I told you I didn't like Elon Musk when he picked him anyway. The debt ceiling jumps to $5 trillion now. He's got $5 trillion that he can add to the debt without a problem, with no votes, no threats of shutting down the government. You know, by 2026 or 2028, we will be $37 trillion in debt. And this bill, over the course of 10 years, is going to add another $3 trillion to it. So there's nothing. He's not cutting anything. You know, we were sold a bill of goods, as far as I'm concerned, in this last election. You know, I warned you guys. I said, look, these are the things. I was cautiously optimistic about Trump. There are some things I like that he's doing. There's a lot of things he does that I don't like. And a whole lot of it is his big, giant friggin' ego that he embellishes everything. Right? And I said, look, you elected a billionaire who hired billionaires to fix a system that made them billionaires. What do you expect? They all have giant inflated egos that have to be fed. We are their meals. Where is all of this for us middle class workers? There is very little in this bill that is going to help me. Very little. I'm telling you, and I'm I'm not a Biden person. I'm not a Democrat at all. There's nothing left about me. Right? But I'm telling you, this bill, a whole lot of rich people are going to benefit really well from this. It's all masked. But, I mean, a lot of rich people are going to lose from this. But a lot of rich people are going to benefit from it. So, that's all I'm going to talk about this. I'm done with this part of the chat. What? How much time have I done? No, it doesn't tell me. Yeah, I don't, let me know what you think about the big bill. Am I on the right track? Am I totally wrong in what I'm thinking? Do I have my facts wrong? I thought about this for a while. But I'm going to close this out now. I've talked long enough. I want you guys to enjoy your 4th of July weekend. Enjoy the rest of this video of my trip down to Morgantown, West Virginia. But definitely, give me some comments. Let me know what you think about what I had said. Be it the prepper groups, the big beautiful bill, whatever. There are 100 other subjects I can talk about. But I get angry when I get into some of this stuff. I'm going through my notes. If I had gone strictly by my notes, this video would be 2 hours long. So I skipped a whole lot of my notes. Just tried to highlight a few things. Some discussion points. Right? And some truths as I see them. You may not see the same. It's kind of like the Bible. Right? What's the secret to the Bible? I love the Bible, but what's the secret to it? It's written in a way that it is open to any personal interpretation that you want. You read it, you see it your way, I read it, I see it my way, and both ways are right. Right? That's how these bills are being worded now. So everybody will see it differently. Those 900 pages could have been 10 pages. These are the facts. End of story. But we can't work that way. That's honesty. God knows we can't have honesty in Washington. But anyway, y'all have a wonderful weekend again. Remember to like this video, share it, talk about it. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. That's what this is all about. We'll discuss it tomorrow night in the live stream as well. I think we're going to have a lively, as long as nobody gets bombed tomorrow, we should have a lovely discussion about this tomorrow in the live stream. I'm out. Peace out, everybody.